Have you heard of Kisaragi Station? It's a station that became well known on internet forums, said to be a place where, once you step in, you'll never be able to return. This is the story of a woman who managed to return from that very Kisaragi station. Due to working late overtime, Miss A missed the last train right in front of her and was left helpless at the station. Thinking she'd have no choice but to call someone to pick her up, she opened her phone. At that moment, a train pulled into the station, even though the last train should have already departed. Miss A assumed it must be a delayed final train and thought, "Lucky," and boarded it. After riding for a while, she began to feel uneasy. 10 minutes passed, then 20, yet the train didn't arrive at the next station. Even so, the other passengers remained silent, sitting quietly. After about an hour, the train finally stopped at a station. Miss A hurriedly got off. The station was called Kisaragi Station. It was unmanned, unfamiliar, with just a lone bench. She couldn't explain it well in words, but the atmosphere felt heavy. It was eerie, and she sensed something was deeply wrong with the place. There was no schedule posted for the next train. With no other option, Miss A tried to call a taxi on her phone. "Excuse me, I'm at a station called Kisaragi Station. Could you please send a taxi?" Someone picked up the phone, but they said nothing. Excuse me, can you hear me?" When she asked again, a man's creepy voice replied, "Kisaragi Station, right? Understood. Heh." And with that, the call ended. She thought she heard the man laughing just before the line cut, which gave her a terrible feeling. Still, she was relieved. At least she could go home. She waited for the taxi to arrive. Miss A left the platform to wait for the taxi. About 5 minutes later, a car arrived. Unsure if anyone would actually come, she approached it with relief. But then, from the car stepped multiple people, far too many to have all fit inside, dressed in white garments and wearing white masks that completely concealed their faces. "You must be Miss A, correct? Thank you for waiting. Please get in." Terrified, Miss A screamed and ran back to the platform. She saw one of the white-clad figures slowly walking onto the platform behind her. In a panic, she jumped down onto the tracks and ran across them, continuing to run as fast as she could. She ran frantically, and before she knew it, about 30 minutes had passed. Eventually, she came to a tunnel so pitch black she couldn't see anything inside. Stories about Kisaragi Station often appeared on forums, and in many of them people say if you walk along the tracks, you'll find a tunnel. After writing that they went in, those posters never write again. But Miss A didn't go in. She turned back. Why? Because she saw them. Countless white hands stretched out from within the darkness of the tunnel, as if waiting for her. Eventually, Miss A made her way back to the platform of Kisaragi Station. The white-clad people were no longer there. Still overcome with fear of the place, she sat down on the bench and silently prayed for a train to come. It felt like about an hour had passed. A train pulled into the station. However, there was no destination displayed, nothing to say where it was headed. Instinctively, Miss A felt, "I must not board this train," and let it go. About every hour after that, more trains arrived, but none had destinations written on them. She watched each one leave. When it felt like 5 hours had passed, finally, one train stopped with a destination listed. It was a station name she recognized. Miss A boarded that train and eventually arrived at that station, then made her way home. It was already morning. She entered her house. "I'm home. Sorry for not calling. It got super late. Is anyone here?" She called out as she walked in and saw an old woman sitting in front of the family altar. Since she lived with her father, mother, and grandmother, she assumed it was her grandmother and called out to her. "Grandma, I'm home. I missed the last train and ended up coming back super late." The old woman turned and looked at her face. "Uh, is that you, eh?" Her eyes wide in shock, she stared at Miss A. "Huh? What's wrong, Grandma? Why are you so surprised?" Before she could finish her sentence, Miss A realized it. The person she had spoken to, believing it was her grandmother, was not her grandmother. And then, trembling, Miss A asked the woman, "Mum, what year is it now?"